Okay, so it's time for us to continue our coverage over, well, two different things we're currently doing on my channel when it comes to DC Comics. The first would be, well, Identity Crisis, a DC event that we are currently covering. And the second thing would be, well, the Manhunter series that came out in the early 2000s. Now, really, I want to focus more on the Manhunter part. Here's the reason why. You see, when it comes to DC Comics, the whole idea of the Manhunters really tie in more into the Green Lanterns and the Guardians. And so when it came to DC Comics in the early 2000s, they took the name Manhunter but made it more grounded, meaning that this character right here is not cosmic at all. Instead, it's more of a street level hero trying to make things better in the city of Los Angeles. And so the Manhunter today's video is a character known as Catherine Spencer. Now, Catherine Spencer was actually a district attorney or a federal prosecutor. Either way, she got tired of the idea that different super criminals were being able to get away from all the different crimes that they had actually committed. So, for example, the whole idea of Copperhead. Copperhead was a villain who had murdered a lot of people, but instead of going ahead and give him the death sentence or just locking him away, instead he was sent over to Star Labs to hopefully find a cure for his actual problem. And so for Catherine, that was not okay at all. And really, she was correct, because on his way over to Star Labs, he was able to break free and kill the two guards who were trying to transport him. And so you had Catherine go out of her way to steal different equipment from different bad guys out of the evidence room in the Los Angeles Police Department and became the Manhunter. And so her main goal is to go out there and fight against different villains who are, causing trouble in Los Angeles. And so for Catherine, she realized after a few run-ins with different kind of bad guys that she may need an upgrade to her equipment. Now, the reason why I say we are continuing our coverage over Identity Crisis is because technically this is a tie-in, but it's not. Let me explain. You see, even though it does not say it's a tie-in to the actual event, the last page of this book slowly brings in the character in the actual event. And you'll see what I mean as we get into today's video. And so yes, this is a tie-in, and even though there's no label on there that says it is a tie-in, it actually is. It leads back into Identity Crisis. Getting into today's video, we actually pick up with a character known as Dylan Battle. Now, we learn very quickly that Dylan is great with technology, and apparently, because he's so great with technology, he used to work for different supervillains around the world. So for example, Two-Face, Killer Frost, Black Manta, the man got around, but at the same time, he was also kind of like their henchman, their tech person on their team. And of course, if they get taken down by a hero, so does he. So we see Batman and Batgirl bringing him down. We see Firestorm bringing him down. We see Aquaman bringing him down. We see a dolphin bringing him down. Either way, for Dylan Battle, this man has gone through different groups across the world, and every single time, if that villain gets arrested, he also gets arrested. He also gets badly beaten down. But then we jump over to the present day, where it seems like he's living a normal life. And we do learn that apparently he has a wife, he also has a son. Now, we do learn very quickly that his wife and him have some issues, a lot of issues, especially when there's a knock on the door. Apparently, there's a woman there to see him. And so we see that his wife does not like the idea that there are other women trying to see him. We're going to learn why at the very end of this book, but he does go to the front door. When he goes to the front door is, well, Catherine Spencer, aka Manhunter. Now, this is her coming to him saying that she knows who he is. You see, in an earlier video, when it came to Catherine, she had actually run into Dylan as a busboy, and she recognized him, but he pretended that he had no idea who she was. And so later on, she realized who he was, that Dylan Battle was a tech guy for different villains around the world. And so she was able to find him and say, hey, listen, you and I need to talk. And I already know that your wife here has no idea about your past life. And so you have Dylan and her leave to go, have a discussion somewhere more private. So once you have Dylan and also Catherine go to a nearby diner, that is when you have Catherine just tell Dylan everything. She says, listen, I know who you are. I know that you are not Dylan Battle. That technically that is a fake name that you are using because you're part of the witness protection system. Because technically you were a tech guy for many bad guys across America. Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, or Killer Frost, or even like, Black Manta. And so it's her saying, listen, I know that you were their tech guy. And right now, I need a tech person to help me out. Now, for Dylan, it's more of like, why should I though? Because technically, I'm part of the witness protection system. My goal is to stay out of that life completely because that life got me in a lot of trouble. And really, I'm trying my best to follow my deal I made with the prosecutors. Because thing is, if I don't, I go to jail. If I go to jail, I'm going to a superpower prison where most likely they might do some horrible things to me. And so it's Dylan saying, I'm trying my best to follow my deal, and here you are as a prosecutor trying to have me to break that deal. Now for Catherine, she does take Dylan outside to show him more proof why she needs his help. And that is when she reveals that she is, Manhunter. Now, at first, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, there's a new hero out there called Manhunter that is technically going out there killing bad people. So what? And then she shows him her tech suit and also her weapons. And he's kind of like, oh, you're Manhunter. Okay, I see now. Now for Dylan, he's kind of like, why should I help you though? Like technically, I could just go ahead and tell everyone who you are. But then she says, I can blackmail you. I can go ahead and find different ways to get you thrown back into prison. Which means that technically she's using her powers right now to put this man in a bad position, to make this man say yes to her deal. Now for Dylan, it's kind of like, I could say yes here and avoid the whole idea of being blackmailed or go ahead and help you out, or I could say no and then get blackmailed and get thrown to prison. And so for Dylan, it's kind of like, you know what? Give me, a day or two to think things through because right now, that is one heck of an offer that technically I'm being forced to take here. And so he leaves to go back home. Now, once you have Dylan being able to get back home, that is when we learn what's going on in the home of Dylan. We learn that this man has been accused of cheating on his wife many times because apparently she believed that Catherine was another woman that he was using to cheat on her with. And so she says, you know what? Enough is enough. I am tired of all the different women that you have basically used to cheat on me. And so you have his wife go into another room and show that she had already packed her things up and her son things as well. She is dipping the heck out of there. And so for Dylan, you would think that he would try his best to fight for his wife, to fight for his son. But technically he doesn't. Like, yes, at first he tries like, hey, listen, you are completely wrong. It's not like that with Catherine, but she's not listening. And once she already shows that she's gone, he's kind of like, oh, well, I guess that's it. Cool. You know what? Let me go ahead and call up Catherine and tell her I will take her deal. And so then we jump over to the ending of the book. Now, the ending of this issue is really more about how this becomes an actual tie-in to the next chapter because the last 2 pages, we see Catherine, sitting there on her computer and seeing which bad guy is still out there for her to go after, like Killer Frost and some other characters. But then she overhears some assistants in her office talking about what happened to Firestorm. Now, if you saw our previous video, you would know that Firestorm had unfortunately been killed off by Shadow Thief. And so when she walks into the room, they tell her like, you didn't hear? Firestorm is dead. He was murdered by the Shadow Thief. And the book ends on that note right there because the next chapter is a full-in tie-in, a full tie-in basically. Either way, it takes place after the last 2 chapters of identity crisis. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.